questions.
I'd be happy to. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you a little bit before the game today. As of yesterday, I made my first trip to the state of Montana, and obviously my first time on campus here at Montana State. And it's been a great visit thus far. I think many of you know that it's been my goal this year to get out to every campus this year. And the goal is to meet with individuals on the university side as well as the athletic side, including coaches, student athletes. And so yesterday, I spent most of the day talking to coaches and administrators, had an opportunity to meet with some of the players that are here, spent an hour with President Cruzado as well, and so it's been a great trip. Today got a tour of the building, had some other meetings, even caught the Idaho State at Montana State volleyball match, and so it's been a great trip. Everyone's been so hospitable, and I'm looking forward to my first football experience here at Montana State.
Yeah, if anyone has questions?
Well, I suppose one of the big questions right now would be those emails that surfaced out of Idaho.
Sure.
I just want to get your reaction to that. What were your thoughts when that became a story?
Sure. And I think we have to take it in context. I mean, this story is coming out about, 6-7 months after the emails were written. And so certainly there are some challenges that they were facing. They were certainly going to be the first institution that went from an FBS to an FCS conference. And so I think, Rob there was really trying to protect their enterprise and figure out what was the best way to transition. And in his mind, delaying that in order to not lose maybe the momentum that they had for the year. And so that was, I think, the basis of all of that. Certainly there were some other concerning pieces that were probably mentioned throughout the different correspondences that were had. But, I think what's wonderful about the Big Sky is that we've got a great group of members in terms of our institutions, and we've got a great foundation for stability within the league. And I think that's where we are today, and that's what I want to focus on moving forward.
Now, you were at the Idaho-Montana State game.
I was. That was my first football game this year, yes.
Okay, so I imagine you met with, some of the administration at
Right.
Idaho.
President Staven met with
Right.
Athletic Director Spears and a number of other individuals, yes.
Right, so did you get the sense then that they're still committed to
Without
this
question. And Chuck, their president there, I mean, he's incredible. And, I met him back in April, and I think that they continue to solidify their commitment to the league and the Big Sky and how important it is for them to have a smooth transition. What's great is we really welcome them back home. I mean, this is kind of, they left us 20 years ago in terms of football, but they never did it as it relates to Olympic sports. So they're still part of our core sports. They're one of our 12 members across the board. And so to have them come back in football in 2018, we're just excited to welcome them back to the Big Sky.
Given how fast Bozeman is growing, can you talk about the possibilities that opens up not only for Montana State, but the whole Big Sky Conference in terms of maybe growing your brand?
Sure.
Nationally and that sort of
Well, and it's wonderful. So both Montana State and Montana are founding members of the Big Sky, and I think that's really a unique situation. And so we've seen a lot of growth here in all of my sessions that I've been through, starting with yesterday and today. I'm learning a lot about the institution, about the academic side, as well as where their priorities are from an athletic standpoint, and to hear about the growth that they're having here, which is just tremendous. It really has everything to do with the people and the leadership and the professors and the academic side and our coaches. And so I think Montana State is doing a great job. I think they've got a wonderful leader in President Cruzado. And so it's been great to watch them grow. And to your point, I think it's going to be great for the brand for the Big Sky. We certainly have a great tradition and history with both Montana State and Montana. So it's just going to be great, and we're enjoying the ride.
What are some things that you've learned now that you've been in the job for a couple of months that you maybe didn't know when you first took it?
Coming here is July 1, so I guess I'm a little bit over that 3-month mark, and it's been a great transition, both personally and professionally. And I think one of the biggest challenges and transitions that I am having to make is coming from an Autonomy 5 conference and coming to a Big Sky. And what's unique and what's great is across the country in all 32 Division I conferences, everyone has the same priorities. They want to make sure that they recruit great kids. We want to compete for championships, and we want to develop and graduate kids. Everyone has those same focuses, so we're so much alike than different. However, the biggest difference was just resources. So as it relates to the amount of money that other conferences have, to the amount of staff that they had coming from the Big Ten, there were 43 full-time employees. We have 9. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest differences, but what it makes is that we have to be a little bit more creative, and I tell people all the time we have to be more resourceful without the resources.
Has anything surprised you along those lines, or I guess could be anything surprised you since you took the job?
I think there's probably a lot that has probably surprised me. I was actually on flying in with some of the game officials, and we were talking about getting ready for today and had the opportunity to visit with some other folks. And I think what's unique about FCS football is there's a lot of high-scoring games. And so I was like, is that an attribute to some really great offense, or do we need to improve our defense? So that was something that I picked up along the way in terms of just watching Big Sky and FCS football.
You know, we're in the middle of the football season, but it's never too early, I guess, on your end to start planning for the basketball tournament.
It never ends.
Reno.
Right.
So, you know, after last year, you know, you got the year under your belt
Sure.
for having the tournament in a centralized location. So, just talk about the planning and what's going into this year, getting ready for this year's tournament.
Right, and that was very important to our schools to be able to have a neutral site for men's and women's basketball, and the fact that they could have both men's and women's on the same week at the same location, the same city. I think that was a really good step in the right direction, and certainly last year was a first off. You know, we have to build and grow from that. A couple of weeks ago, we took our first site visit down to Reno to re-engage with the staff that's there to do our site visit. We looked at facilities, hotels, airport, and so we had a really good visit there. We're starting to have our conference calls with our member institutions as well as we get prepared for getting back to Reno for the basketball championships. One of the things I'm really stressing for us to be able to do successfully this year is to create a local organizing committee. In terms of having large-scale events like this, you need kind of the boots on the ground in terms of we need an extension of our staff in Reno in order for us to be able to have management and be managing logistics and preparation until we get to March, because we can't be there all day every day, and so that's something that we're trying to create going into this year. So we're going to be reaching out to key contacts within the community that have a different reach. So it could be individuals that would help us with securing volunteers or helping us with marketing or sponsorship, or just making sure that the community is aware that they've got this great championship that's happening in their backyard. And one of the individuals that we met with, he used the term last chance to dance. And I thought that was great, because it doesn't matter, you know, if you are who you're a fan of, but if you like basketball, that's a great way to just get your fill all at once.
So would you say increasing attendance is
without question.
number one priority?
It's a big priority, and I would say the first priority is just to ensure that our student athletes and our teams have a good experience, and so that's priority number one, and part of that is building the fan base and increasing attendance, so that is definitely a focus for us.
You talked about some of the lack of resources coming from the Big Ten to the Big Sky Conference.
Sure.
It's geographically one of the biggest conferences in America, Division I at least.
Mm-hmm.
What opportunities do you see in such a big geographic region? And also, do you see any negatives or some stresses on some institutions here?
You know, I think it's going to be important for our brand and our identity in terms of being as in a footprint as large as we are, you know, spanning over 9 states. That's pretty large. And so what's unique too is that we're in all sorts of different cities. We're in towns, we're in cities, we're in big metropolitan type areas. And so each one is a little bit unique and different. And right now we're going through a strategic plan. And so I think we're trying to identify, you know, how do we capitalize on every area that we are alike, and then also highlighting the areas where we're not, because each of our institutions are unique in their own way. And so how do we best present that and tell our own message through our branding campaign?
When do you expect the strategic plan to be finished?
Well, they started a little bit after January, and they stalled the process a little bit, understanding that they would have a new commissioner in place. So I kind of caught part of the strategic planning halfway through the process. And so this past, about 2 weeks ago, we had our administrator meetings in Salt Lake, and we got a lot of work done. It was a really great session. And so it may not be your typical rollout, but I think it's going to be a way for us to be able to, as you mentioned earlier, best be able to position ourselves and identify what is the message that's important to really tell the story about the Big Sky, and how do we best put the highlight and focus on the Big Sky brand, and where can we be consistent in messages across the board. And so that's really going to be our focus moving forward.
Was that meeting just like with all the university presidents, or?
It was a mix. So when they started the strategic plan, they identified a subcommittee to work on it. So it is made up of presidents, athletic directors, FARs, senior women administrators. So it runs the gamut in terms of individuals on campus. But we also have made sure that we talk to other people that obviously tell our story as well. So it's important for us to have conversations with alumni, our media, the public. So a lot of times we can tell you what we think our brand and our message is, but if it's not the reality and the perception of what our audience is seeing, we need to make sure that we're in tune with that as well.
And today's game is going to be on Root Sports.
Yeah.
I know that getting a new contract there was something that you said was a priority. Can you give us an update maybe on where that stands?
Yes, I think I signed my second or third extension in terms of the conversations. And again, that was an area where the conference and Root Sports had talked about, okay, we're going to have new leadership within the Big Sky. It's important for us to make sure that this person gets on board. And so we've had multiple calls. We've been there and visited with them in person. And so we're still going through the process. Our hope and goal would be to have something lined out by the end of this month, but sometimes timelines get pushed, as we've already seen. But certainly they are a great partner of ours, and we enjoy the great programming and production that they do for Big Sky football especially, and so it's great that they're here covering the game with Northern Arizona and Montana State, so it should be an excellent opportunity for our fans to catch us on television.
And both sides are still committed to get it done.
We are, and I think that's the reason why you see us continue to sign the extension. It's not because of lack of effort, it's just about getting the right people in the room to make sure that we're kind of going through all the different policies and the clauses that are part of that.